Well, today, Paul's talking about other distractions that can draw us away, or, as he says, draw us out of accordance, out of line with the King, and cause us to lose track and get cut off from the growth that he offers. Now, the first one, which we're just going to touch on, and I'm going to leave that for Joe to sort out some other time. The first one is actually our religion. And Paul is saying here clearly, there are kinds of religion that can actually lead us away from God, away from the King. Complicated things like secret rites of passage and rules-based stuff and things that sound so wise because they're complicated, but in fact have no power to give us what we actually need or seek. Paul says there's one thing we need. Hold fast to him who's the head, the King. He's the only one that has the power to set us free. And another distraction, which we're really going to dig into here today, and it's deep inside the text. We're going to try to pull it out. And this is what he refers to, this distraction, this thing that threatens to capture us, he refers to as the shadows, right? The things that are perishing. So let's dig into that here together this morning and see what does that have for us here, Lakeview, Saskatoon in 2016. So verse 17 says this, right? These things are a shadow of what is to come, but the substance belongs to Christ. So we recognize here something that's a thread throughout the New Testament. This contrast, this setup of two different kinds of things. Substance, shadow. Perishing, imperishable. Things that pass away and things that will remain. Temporal and eternal. This is throughout the Bible. This paints for us a little picture of the worldview of the Bible, which is a little bit different than ours, but it's important as we're trying to understand what is Paul saying, to go back into their worldview, to catch how did they understand things. That will help us understand the language. And the Bible understood this, that life, our world, reality, had two realms. Heaven and earth. Not separate, like we sometimes think of them, not completely removed and one's up there and one's down here. No, there's somehow overlapping and interconnected, but still separate. And people, us, we, the moral people, we live on earth, obviously, and we have the ability to understand the things on earth, right? That's where we live. We have some rain here, and we have things to do, and we have capacity to understand earth. But if we want to know anything about the things in heaven, we can't just figure them out by good planning or lots of thinking and doing science experiments. We can't discern those things that are in heaven. It has to be revealed to us. And he didn't just come and speak. He died and he rose from the dead. And in doing that, in overcoming death himself, he started something. He started to fulfill his promises. That kingdom, it's starting to come. It's already in our midst and it's starting to grow. He inaugurated the kingdom. And that was the ultimate answer to the ultimate mystery that they were seeking. And so then you hear Paul start to say things like, look, don't focus just on the things we see here on earth. We have it in this passage, right? Set your mind on things that are above, not the things on earth. This is what he's talking about. But I wonder, just want to pause there for a second and ask, how do you feel about that? What reacts inside you, or what's your response when you hear someone say something like, or you come across a passage like this encouraging you, put your eyes on heaven. Don't put your eyes on the things here. How do you respond? What do you think about that? Because I think there's something in us, in our time, that actually kind of recoils against that, isn't there? It feels like incompatible. It can't fit to have our heads in the clouds, but somehow still be like relevant and effective and helpful and compassionate here on earth. They don't seem to go together. And we feel like we've seen the consequences of that, right? Many of us do. We feel like we we encounter this line of thinking that says, no, it doesn't matter what's going on here. It's worry about what happens after you die. That's when life really begins, and that's what matters. It's not your life, it's your soul. Pie in the sky stuff, we've called it in the past, that just keeps you sort of insulated from being affected by all the scary stuff that's going on around here. But that stuff, we've got to know this, it does not come from the Bible. It's not in the world of the Bible. In the Bible, the future is not a distraction to insulate us from reality now. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. The future is the motivation to live fully now. The certainty of the future is what takes away the anxiety that draws us out of life here now, right? It's the certainty of the future and what's coming that actually answers the questions we have about, is it even worth our time to waste, to spend, to do things, to work for justice and compassion when we live in a world when all the evidence seems to point to the conclusion that it's just never going to change? It's just never going to get better? In the Bible, keeping your eyes on the future is the thing that allows you to live like what looks more than a little bit foolish here, now, in a hard world, because we know the future is coming. The kingdom is coming. And instead of distracting us from reality, actually that future coming kingdom from heaven strengthens us for it, encourages us, reminds us that despite what we see now, there's something coming. And it is coming. And we can work for that now. Love is not our duty, it's our destiny. Love is the language they speak in the new creation, and we get to learn it here. It's difficult. There are lots of irregular verbs. There's vocabulary that will be very difficult to get into your head and get your tongue around. But learn it. One day, you'll be singing in it. I love that image. The coming kingdom, a place where love is spoken as the very language, spoken and sung. It's the most imperishable of all things. And in fact, it is the least waste of our time because it is immortal. It never ends. And because we'll be speaking it in the new kingdom, we should learn it now. We can. So what does that mean in practice? Because love's one of those words in our language that gets used so often that it often doesn't even have any meaning anymore, a concrete meaning. But I want to suggest two things. They're very related to help us just get something tangible to land on in terms of what is love. First, and this takes us back to the abiding with Christ and holding fast to Him, following Him. Love is to be Christ-like, which means the essence of Christ. My life, my time, my resources exist for something and someone, not myself. Jesus said, I came to serve, not to be served. I came to spend my life as a ransom. Spending our lives as a ransom for others. That's love. Jesus spent His life in a ransom of love for us, and that is what compels us to do the same for other people. So we spend our lives as a ransom for people who are in captivity. People like some of the ones I met last week living hell in Mulenga. Or maybe others like lonely seniors down the road from here who feel like nobody would even care or know if they passed away. That kind of stuff, viewed in the shadow light of today, it looks so naive. But viewed in the light of what's coming and where all of this is going, then that actually is wisdom. All the things we could spend our lives on, of all that stuff that we could spend our lives on, this kind of thing is the one with the greatest return on what we invest because it's the only one that won't fade away. Now, for me, my instinct with this, when I think about love, is to reach out to and to hear the cries of those outside of my immediate circle. But I need to challenge myself, actually, to grow and endure the same way for those inside my circle, like extended family. As I stand here right now, I can hear the voice of someone in my extended family, in my circle, that needs somebody to endure, to bear. If not me, then who? I want to encourage you, in our individualist culture, it might be the opposite for you. We tend to look inside our circle first because actually caring for people inside can be kind of an extension of caring for ourselves. I want to encourage you, it's good and it's Christ-like to do that, but also look outside your circle. Remember, there are people outside that don't have any circle. They don't have anybody bearing, believing, hoping, or enduring for them. If not you and me, then who?